Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching India Tonight with me, Sumita Karir. Of course, we'll go over to our top story tonight, and this is about Kamala Harris's latest interview to Fox News. But let's take a look at some important news coming in. The Israeli military ministry, has announced that it has been investigating whether Hamas chief Yahya Sinwar has been killed in an operation. In fact, the operation targeted three military people in southern Gaza Strip. The military has said that there is a possibility that one of the three militants who was shot was Sinwar. In fact, IDF has also said in a tweet that the identity of the terrorist cannot be ascertained or confirmed at this point. However, there were no indications that the hostages were present in the building where that operation was conducted. So that confirmation yet to come in on whether the person who's died is indeed Yahya Sinwar or not. And let's now move on to our top story tonight. And Kamala Harris has given an interview to Fox News. She has said, and I quote, "My presidency is not going to be a continuation of the Biden presidency. I represent a new generation of leadership." In fact, Harris, who was speaking in a heated interview to Fox News, also said that she represents a new generation of leadership. This, remember, is ahead of the November 5th election. A whole host of contentious issues were touched upon, including immigration, the rights of transgender people, amongst others. So the question is her interview to Fox News an attempt to woo Republican voters? Because at one point, she even said that I invite ideas, whether it be from the Republicans who are supporting me. And what's brought about this U-turn from Kamala Harris is Harris, whom Biden said that she's following the same road, now trying to distance herself from Biden's legacy, even as the deadline of November 5th draws closer. To discuss that and more, I'm now joined by Raymond Vickery, former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce, Trade Development. Thank you very much, Mr. Vickery, for joining us this evening. My first question to you, is Kamala Harris trying to distance herself from President Biden's legacy? Because she clearly states that her presidency is going to be very different. She represents a new generation of leaders. This is happening, remember, just weeks ahead of the presidential elections. Why is she making these comments?
Well, thanks very much for having me. It's plain that Kamala Harris is not Joe Biden. And it's also plain in her statements that she is moving forward and moving ahead. And unfortunately, the entire Trump approach was formulated to fight Joe Biden. And so they want to make Harris exactly like Joe Biden, because that's what they're set up to do. And I think in the Fox interview, Kamala Harris was making it plain that she's not Joe Biden, that she has ideas of her own, and that she will bring a fresh approach to the presidency. And that's what any new president ought to do. And if you look at the economy, her proposals go beyond those which are in the Biden presidency. And if you look in terms of international affairs, differences.
Right. Right. So you are stating, Mr. Vickery, that she is not President Joe Biden. She's very different from him. Although at an earlier instance, about 2 months back, President Joe Biden stated that she's very much following into his footsteps, and definitely she's going to be carrying forward the Democratic agenda. So my question to you is, if she is not Joe Biden, then what does brand Kamala Harris stand for? Who is she really? Because after watching that interview and several of her previous interviews, everybody has been wondering, what does Kamala Harris really stand for?
Well, I think it's very plain that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are both Democrats and both in the same mold in terms of overall principles. But Kamala Harris is going to bring a fresh leadership. Now, what does she stand for? She very much stands for what has been her experience as a woman, as a person who's involved in the care of family members. She has put forward proposals to be able to provide compensation for those who are taking care of seniors, proposals for children being born, expanding the child tax credit. Now, it's not an either or situation. It's not, well, is she Joe Biden or is she not Joe Biden? It's a matter of her bringing leadership, which is new and fresh, and yet not being diametrically opposed in any way.
Mr. Vickery, when you say that, yes, when you say that she is going to bring forth a new way forward, and this is something that Kamala Harris also mentioned in that interview, but what exactly is she going to look at changing vis-a-vis the Biden presidency? Because all the points that you've mentioned are part of the Democratic agenda, very much so. And
Well,
the one criticism, let me add one more line here. The one criticism that has come in for Kamala Harris is that she's not really been articulate her own stance on many issues. In fact, if you go over the interview, she was, of course, attacking Donald Trump, whether it is on the issue of wars, whether it's on the issue of border issues, even though it is the Democratic government which has been in power for the past couple of years.
Well, let's make it very plain that the main issue in this entire campaign is democracy, and whether or not you're going to go forward under the tenets which have made this country great, which make India great, and that is a democratic approach, or whether you're going to go, as General Milley has said, with a guy who's fascist to the core. And that's what's basically at stake. Now, when you go beyond that and ask for differences, let's just take housing, for example. The approach of Harris on housing is very much different than that of Joe Biden. It is a supply side. It is cutting down in terms of regulation. It is providing a $25,000 credit for first-time homeowner buyers. Those approaches on housing are new and different. It's not that Joe Biden didn't want to do anything about housing, but it is that Kamala Harris is bringing something new and different. In terms of immigration, it is plain that the approach that was initially taken by Joe Biden was not sufficient to be able to meet the challenge. But also make it plain that what's going on here with the Trump approach on immigration is to try to create in the minds of white Americans a fear of black and brown people coming over the border to be able to take over. And so what needs to be done is exactly what she has put forward in terms of a solution to the problem, rather than trying to exacerbate it for political purposes, which is what the Trump
Mr. Vickery, there's not really been any solution to the problem, because Kamala Harris herself mentioned that illegal immigration is very much an issue and that is a priority. However, she kept attacking Trump, even though, like I said, that it is the Democrats that have been in power. Now, with respect to her comments on illegal immigration, and that is one of the biggest issues this American election, could her statement be seen as an admission to what Trump's allegations earlier have been about the Biden administration breaking borders and allowing for illegal immigration? Because she did at one point in time during that interview, she did apologize for the death of somebody's daughter who actually died because of illegal immigration.
Well, no, but it does mean that we're not going to go back to the Trump approach under Kamala Harris of trying to separate children from their parents in order to discourage people from splitting up families. It's not going to be the case that we're just going to try to close the borders, as has been said by Trump. We have thousands and thousands of people going back and forth between Mexico and Canada every day, and that's necessary. The idea that you're just going to close the borders are not right. And on the question of what's happening with criminal activity, it is true that there have been crimes committed by illegal immigrants, but it is not true that there is any greater tendency to crime and to violence in terms of immigrants, legal or illegal, than in the general population. So this idea that the
Right.
Hannibal lectors are being released from prisons and are coming to get the American people
Hmm.
is not one which is going to be a
Right,
part
right,
of.
Mr. Vickery, you are stating that, you are articulating that. That articulation didn't really come about from Ms. Harris. One final question before we let you go, because we are completely out of time. And this is about the interview she gave to Fox News, which is a right-wing channel. Are Democrats looking to warm up to conservatives and perhaps narrow the gap? Because polls suggest that in key states like Pennsylvania, perhaps, and some others, it is Trump who's leading at present. There is a very, very narrow margin so far as those polls are concerned. And Kamala Harris did, in fact, at one point in time, like I was stating earlier, said that I invite ideas, whether be it from Republicans who are supporting me. Is she warming up to Republicans? What's behind this strategy? How are you reading into this?
Well, first of all, Trump is not leading in Pennsylvania, and that's just not the
Several
case.
polls suggest that he is leading.
Well, there are many more that say that he is not. The fact is, of course, that the issues here go beyond party. There were 100 members of the Trump administration who were with Kamala Harris just recently, saying that Trump is not fit in any way to be president of the United States. So yes, Kamala Harris wants Republican votes.
Quickly interject you. Can I quickly interject you? And if you could go back to the question that I asked you, which is basically about why has Kamala Harris chosen to give an interview to Fox News, and why is she warming up to Republicans? Because she did mention them. What's behind her strategy? Is she realizing that the perhaps is only narrowing between her and Trump?
Well, she needs Republican votes. She needs independent votes. And the Fox television interview was an attempt to reach out, because there are many good people who are Republicans, and who, once they look at what is being put forward by Trump, are going to say, well, I'm not a Democrat, but I certainly don't want a person who's fascist to the core to be the president of the United States.
Right. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Vickery, for joining us this evening and discussing this very crucial story that we are debating right here on ET Now. Thank you very much once again. And ladies and gentlemen, it's time's up from us on India Tonight. Meanwhile, we'll definitely be following up on this story. November 5th is the D date. We'll see who really leads in those presidential polls. Goodbye, and thank you very much for staying with us.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.